Om. 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 Sairam, everyone. Happy and holy Shivaratri to all of you. Um, we will have the session only for 1 hour today because so that everyone can attend the center activities because most centers have some activity. Uh, just to summarize what we were discussing last week, Swami has completed discussing the Jnana Yoga and he is introducing the scriptures of the Sanatana Dharma, Vedas, and so on. Swami was talking about other religions and what they consider as the sacred texts. We were reading that section and we were about to discuss. Maybe we will reread that section again and English and then Telugu and then we will discuss Saira.
At this point, we have to keep in mind another very important truth. All other religions prevalent in the world hold as authoritative communications made to some holy person by God Himself in His corporate form, or through some superhuman personalities or embodiments of parts or portions of divinity. Bharatiyas do not follow this line. They declare that the Vedas are based on no human authority. They do not depend on any man for their validity. They are emanations direct from God. They are primeval. They are their own authority and validity. They were not written down or composed, constructed or put together. The cosmos or creation is limitless, eternal, and it has neither beginning nor end. So too, the voice of God, namely the Vedas, have no limit. They are eternal. They have no beginning nor end. Ved, the root from which the word Veda is derived, means to know. When knowledge began, the Vedas too manifested. The rishis visualized and announced them. They are the seers of mantras, the mantra drishtas.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Auntie will read Telugu.
ఓకే సాయిరామ్. ఈ సమయమున మనము ఒక ముఖ్య విషయాన్ని జ్ఞప్తి ఉంచుకొనవలెను.
At this time, we have to keep one very important subject in our memory.
లోకములో గల తక్కిన మతములన్నీయు తను ప్రామాణికతకు ఆధారముగా అందలి సందేశము.
In the world, there are many religions, and these religions have as the authority, as a thing which supports their religion, all the teachings.
ఒక సాకార దైవము, కొందరు మహాపురుషులో,
whether it be God in human form or by certain great personages,
దైవాంశ సంభూతిలో కొందరికి చేసిరని పలుకును.
that there are certain individuals endowed with divine attributes have taught them to a few individuals.
భారతీయులు ఇట్లు కాదు.
The Bharatiyas do not do this.
వేదముల ప్రామాణికత మానవులపై ఆధారపడినది కాదనియు,
The authority of the Vedas are not dependent on human beings.
అవి సనాతనములనియు,
They are eternal.
ఈశ్వర జ్ఞానమయములకుట చేత స్వయం ప్రామాణికములనియు చెప్పవచ్చును.
That they are derived from the jnana, from Ishvara himself, Thus, they are on their own, they are the authorities. Thus, they declare.
అవి రచింపబడినవి కావని గుర్తించవలెను.
They are not something which has been composed that has to be understood.
ఇవి మనకు తెలియక పూర్వము కూడాను ఉన్నవి.
These existed even before we knew anything.
కాలము నిలిచియే ఉన్నవి.
For a long time, they have remained in the world.
సృష్టింపబడినవు కావు.
They were not something which was created.
సృష్టి ఎట్లు అపారము, శాశ్వతము, ఆద్యంతరహితము,
Just as the creation itself is that something which is beyond our understanding, which is permanent, eternal, and it is endowed with divinity or spirituality,
ఆద్యంతరహితము,
or they are
బిగినింగ్.
without beginning or end.
అటులనే ఈశ్వరవాణి కూడాను శాశ్వతము, అపారము, ఆద్యంతరహితము.
There's the same way the word of God is also eternal, it's beyond us, and it is without beginning or end.
వేదము విత్ ఎరుగుట అనగా జ్ఞానం.
Vedam comes from the root with, and that means it's knowledge.
దీనిని మహాపురుషులు దర్శించి ప్రకటించిరి.
These were these were seen by the rishis, and they declared to the world.
వారే మంత్ర ద్రష్టులు.
They are called mantra drashtas.
సాయిరామ్.
Thank you, Auntie. So I think last week we discussed, can we consider what Swami has taught us as Veda? Or Swami, why is he categorizing these also as something limited and not as expansive as the Vedas? I think this was some point which we started discussing. So I will stop here if anyone has anything to say or...
I just had a question.
Yes.
So Swami's saying that Vedas are like Ishvaravani, like they're the word of God, right? And these rishis, they saw them and declared them to the world. But how is that different from prophets or in other religions? They also say that they heard the word of God and declared it to other people. So what is the difference here?
Okay, very good question, Kalyani. So anyone would like to, based on what we have read, what do you all think? What did you understand? How is what others have told different from Ishvaravani declared by the rishis? Yes, Sanjay.
Not direct answer to that question, but I think there was one word here in the last paragraph about speaking about Vedas where it says Swapramanika, right? I thought that word could be probably an alternate translation might be self-evident, and I think that is, and in some sense, that is what I feel is the difference between something that is self-evident versus something that may not be self-evident. Something that requires an acceptance of something else to stand its theory. Whereas, just like we always talk about, when if there's doubt, go back to the Shastra, go back to the Shrutis. Is that also the case in the text from some of the other matas? Is something to be thought about. So not a direct answer, but something, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Sanjay. So I think Kalyani's question I will again try to rephrase. See if Prophet Muhammad or Jesus, in the case of Prophet Muhammad, it is considered to be something dictated to him and he wrote it down, he declared to the world. Then in the case of Christianity, Jesus did not necessarily say that, but he was considered God in human form or the Son of God. In the case of Jews, Judaism, they would say Moses went up the mountain and he was given instructions and he came down and declared the word. So I think Kalyani's question is, aren't these also same as what the rishis did? So how can we consider the Vedas as Ishvaravani, whereas the others are not? So that's what Swami has stated here. So how is that different? Is that in the question?
So yeah, I think Ishwaravani, what Swami says here is the Vedas existed. There was never a time when it did not exist. Um, so if it's a it goes back to the Swapramanika. I think it's a very significant word there, because anything that is self-evident, one can logically prove that it does not have a cause, meaning it does not have a upadana karana or a nimitta karana. That nimitta karana doesn't arise in the cause in the context of something that is self-evident, meaning it was not drawn upon from something else. If it exists, if there was never a time when it did not exist, just like Prakriti, it always existed. Whereas and the rishis, they just saw it. They were the drashtas. They just saw it. Before they saw it, did it not exist? Yes, it did exist. They just saw it. So I think in the case of other prophets, or actually Swami even says Sakara. Sakara, what does Swami say in the first paragraph? Even Sakara, or God, Ishvara, also I think what they said was limited. Isn't that what Swami says here?
సాకార దైవము కొందరు మహాపురుషులో దైవాంశ సంభూతిలో కొందరికి అందచేసిరి అని పలుకును. తమ ప్రామాణికతకు ఆధారముగా అందరి సందేశము ఒక సాకార దైవము కొందరు మహాపురుషులో దైవాంశ సంభూతిలో కొందరికి అందచేసిరి. It was given to them.
Yes.
That's what
it's given to them, and what is given is parts or portions of it which is relevant for the purpose of their mission that they might have come for. I think that's where and when we say self-evident, if it fails in certain places, in certain times, in certain communities, then can it be, if a self-evident truth is self-evident and verifiable in all times, in all places, whereas something that is specific to a certain time, certain place, and certain community may not be comparatively verifiable, is how I understand it.
Sanjay ji, it is Swayam Pramanika, Swami says. Is there the difference between Swayam, you are saying, self-evident, you are saying. It is Swayam Pramanika means self-authoritative.
It derives its authority from itself.
It derives from itself.
It is similar to saying self-evident also, right? Because
yes.
The evidence for its existence is proven by itself.
Yes.
From the Shabda Pramana aspect, yeah.
Sister Aruna.
Sairam, brother. I just wanted to understand before I'm hearing everyone's thought here, but the only thing I just wanted to clarify this one. See, Swami says we have to keep in mind another very important truth. Then he continued, all other religion prevalent in the world hold an authoritative communication. So that is Swami says as a truth, then again it comes to a point where Bharatiyas do not follow this line. That's little confused. Huh?
Okay. Sister, you were able to hear everyone's thought. I was taken aback by that for a
I
second.
am listening. I
Like
am
my
listening.
brother.
I am listening. Not I'm just listening. But I couldn't
So
verify the clarification for that part.
okay, so maybe I will explain what I understand what Swami says. Swami is saying there is one important point all of us have to keep in mind. What is that is that all the other religions in the world are holding texts which have come from some individual who is born in this world. Whereas the Vedas come from God directly. There is no human agency. That is what we have to keep in mind. That is the important thing which we have to keep in mind, Swami says. Okay. Brother Sivadas has his hands up, so I'll ask
Thank
him.
you.
You are done, brother?
Yes, it's yours, brother. Everything.
No. Actually, no. I wanted to support part of Sanjay's argument that for other religions, for that particular environment and the circumstances suitable for the climate and everything, certain portion was delivered, not universal. So here, in this case, this very ancient revelation, but the Hindus' revelation, the ancient, as per the history also. So the ancient revelation and the whole, the complete truth or knowledge were there, already there, and these rishis saw that or captured it and delivered to the world, even without mentioning their name. That's the most important part now. So there's no name to attribute the statements of the Vedas. But there are certain sages, they explained it further, that their names are there. But the original Vedas names, the authority name, who composed it, not there. So that is self-evident. This is evident, that is self-evident, that there was no particular person for the revelation. So that, so what I am again saying is, Baba, because Baba is saying this truth, we have to believe that the Vedas were universal. Anybody, any climate people can access to that and get the knowledge. So also Bhavan says the pools and the river. Now you said the other day. So when the river is flowing fast, and there are here and there are pools, and so the pools gathered some the big rivers water. So because I know I think you get it get my point. I think so. Originally I started to talk to support Sanjay's view that it may be not complete, but true. That's not is not wrong. Everything is true, but may not be universal. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, brother. Sister Aruna, you again raised your
Brother,
hand.
yes, brother, I'm still trying to understand a little more on that because I wanted to be clear why that other religions things. I know Vedas are heard from the Lord, but here also mentioned some holy person by who God Himself. Is that in his corporate form or
Yes.
through some? So isn't it something initiated with the God thing? Or is it only the Vedas are heard by the Rishis? Like that? I'm thinking like that. Yes, I don't
Yeah,
know.
so that's what Kalyani's question. How do we know what is
Yeah.
man-made and what is God-made?
Mm-hmm.
If there are certain truths we are reading something, Swami is saying we should keep that in mind. I think that's the most important things. If there's a man-made and God-made, okay? So we should know which is man-made, which is God-made. This is the point which Swami wants to keep. That's number one. Number two, how do we distinguish what is God made and what is man made?
That's the part, yeah.
That is
Then
the
what
part.
is it?
So I think that's what Kalyani is asking. How do we distinguish and separate them?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a question. And Brother Sanjay and Brother Sivadas have said, what these people said only for a certain occasion, it is not the whole. Which is also true, but I don't know whether Swami is, that's also implied in what Swami is saying, because the reality is God revealed to them also in some way,
Yeah.
in that sense, but it is second hand. It is coming with human agency. Okay, so how do we distinguish these two? Is the question Kalyan is asking. Yes,
So Rishi, you don't consider as an agent who is
Swami
receiving
is
and
not
giving.
considering them.
No.
Okay, Swami is not
Answer.
considering them. Okay, so we'll ask Mani Auntie first.
I won't
Yes, Auntie, you
understand.
want to say something? Get unmute and say, Auntie.
There must have been some human agency when we talk about other religions. There was some agency through which the communication was done. But here, they were mantra drashtas. What they saw, those Veda mantras, and that is the authority for us. Is there any difference between
Yeah, again, we're back to the same question.
human agency was there? I think so. In the
So,
other,
Sai Satish, your turn.
Hi, Ramanda. So one is, if you see the other religions, since it is ascribed to a prophet who is a starter of it, there is a differentiation between what comes from aham and from ahankaram. I'm not again referring to ahankaram as a normal ego sense, but when that aham had an akaram in the form of a prophet, a messiah who brought that message. So every time when it stays at the level of aham, that is where Sanatana Dharma doesn't have one single person whom you can ascribe it to, which means the akaram that the aham takes on is totally effaced. It's not at all there. So that way it instills not one single person who can become an authority of that, let's say, word of God and things of that kind. And so I'm still seeing that when it comes from the sages and seers, it comes from a place of total selflessness. And when there is total selflessness, it comes from a place of love and so on, where the pristine nature of Godhead or whatever communication that comes through as mantra drashtas and so on remains. This is not to belittle any other faith or so on. But since it, again, the human agency versus a non-human, meaning non-identified agency, identifiable agency, makes it a total realm of aham versus ahankaram. But I don't know if I'm headed in the right direction, but I'll pause here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish. Maybe so I will try my hand at this.
Please
See,
also, brother, also include this one and whether we have the names for the Veda statements.
Yes, brother, sure.
Okay.
So maybe I will start with that. For many of the mantras, the mantra darshana name is given. Because if you look at most the Vedic scriptures, the name of the rishi who discovered is already given. I think there are a few things which we have to say. When the Vedas, we say, we do not give authority for the Vedic statements on the basis of this rishi said so. First of all, we will not say, oh, Vyasa said this or Vasishta said this. That is why it is the truth. We will never say. The Vedas say that. Okay, so individual is not given as someone who has given authority for that statement. Whereas if you take other religion, they will say Jesus said it, or Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him. I think I should say that. Things like that. or different people say so and so said, because of that it is law. Okay. Whereas Vedas do never say that. No statement in the Vedas will say so and so because so and so said so and so. That's number one. Number two, see, if you take water, in all the countries you can pick up water. So water is God created. But if you want to drink Coca-Cola, it is only the Coke company will give it. So it has a limited application, it has a limited source. But so what Vedas, the same mantras were seen by multiple rishis at multiple locations at multiple times. They did not learn from somebody else. So they were able to go to the raw material and find it themselves because it was prevalent everywhere. So because of that, the truths are universal. It is accessible to anyone. No one needs a qualification to access and learn and use it. And it does not differentiate by caste, creed, or belief or anything. Especially the Vedic statements. We should not include any of the Hindu religious practices like Shiva, Vaishnava, Vishnu, and all that. I'm talking about the Vedas. Vedas just made declared statements, and they also declared natural, forces and energies as universal. If you look at even the gods which are described in the Vedas, Agni, Varuna, Vayu, which people can say, oh, these are natural forces, but they saw divinity through them. So most of the Vedic statements are universal in nature. They do not think that you have to believe me because I have told you so. And their application is also very universal. So the word universal comes there. Even though, see, it's like gravity is present in the world. Or Newton, somebody will say Newton discovered, somebody will say no, before Newton, somebody else discovered. But gravity is a natural phenomena. It's not an artificially human constructed phenomena. So that is the way I see this. So the authority for any statement is given to the Vedas, not to an individual. And the same truth was discovered by multiple people. That's why Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, it's also stated in. But all of them would have said the same concept in different words, possibly. But the principle ingrained in all of them is so universal, so natural. Multiple people discovered the same at different times and times. So that is why Veda Swami wants us to know. He wants us to keep that in mind. So I'll stop. I don't know whether I made any sense.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, very nice.
Yes, brother. So to add to you what say, so for example, chiefly in Christianity, certain sects they don't believe in idols. So Mohammedans never believe, almost totally do not believe. But whereas the Sanatana Dharma has room for everything. So that's what we can say, that any religion people can easily follow Sanatana Dharma. It is to such extent it is universal. It's not restricted or follow this way or follow this way or follow this way. It's not limiting to say, oh, you have to do like this or like this and like this. No. So that's also some point we can think of. Thank you, Sayana.
Sairam.
Do you think also that the fact that it's in Sanskrit language makes a difference as well? Like compared to, other language, maybe in order to get these truths into another language, some of it is lost.
Good question, Kalyani. So we will discuss that as well. Sai Sati, I think Sanjay had raised his hand and put it down.
No, I
But
just wanted to add one other thing. I think about I think you had asked you had posed a question at the before your your explanation about how do we know if you're following the right thing, right? And I just wanted to kind of maybe share a thought on that. I think when it's self-evident and self-verifiable, um, when it upholds the very foundational principle that it is there to prove, which is the Advaita principle. And when everything it says supports that principle, it lasts through the time and space, and it's of value to everyone at all times in every place. And anything that's come through an individual for a specific time, for a specific place, for a specific community, may not necessarily completely point towards, because it's, again, as it's already clear, they've come for a specific purpose, a specific place, a specific group of people. So they've come with a mission to uphold that purpose and message. So all of what they say may not necessarily clearly point towards that one principle of Advaita, and then you know that it is not necessarily universal, is something I wanted to add. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you. Sai Satish.
Saramana, just to add to what you and Sanjayana mentioned, again, Sanatana Dharma believes in as many seekers, those many paths. And where we see that as time and again, Sanatana Dharma believes that there is nothing bad, it is always good, better, and best kind of a thing, which is what again makes any seeker. So, for a Sanatana Dharma person, Islam is another way to reach God, Christianity is another way to reach God, Sikhism is another way to reach God. They just see it as another means, and it doesn't say that if you don't follow this religion, you become a sinner. So that the mentality and the universality, like you said, the way it is approached itself is from a foundational point that everyone loves God, everyone is in search of that absolute truth. So everyone with that right effort can reach that absolute. So that is where, when it is coming from that universality, then obviously any seeker can access the ocean. Like you said, it's not about going to a river, a pond, a sea or so. It is always go to the ocean. And when you go to the ocean, you're able to essence the absolute. So that way, it's the royal highway of spirituality. But I'll pause here. Saya.
Thank you very much. Yes, Sister. Yes, Sister Vani.
Sairam, brother. So to answer Kalyani's second question about, it was written in Sanskrit, I thought they were just passed on from Guru to Shishya and then so on. So it was not originally written in Sanskrit, but it was later put it into written format. But however, it was not originally written by God himself. It was just heard. So just adding that.
So I think the question, sister, what language did God speak on?
There are 4 types of speeches. They talked about this.
Yes.
Vaishanti, all that. So people, even, I don't know whether it's true, but even Ramanujam, the math genius, he said apparently, he saw the theorems. So it's kind of people, the rishis had the ability to see those. So it was not written down originally. It was later on written down in Sanskrit.
Okay, thank you very much, sister.
Just to clarify, when they would pass it down from guru to disciple, would they be speaking in Sanskrit? No, I assumed that, but I'm not sure.
Sister Vani.
They were just passing on by word of mouth, not
what language, I think, is the question.
It applies for all languages. Even Russians are chanting Vedas. But it was easier to write in Sanskrit, probably the pronunciation and all that. I thought the language came after Vedas.
Thank you, sister. Yes, Brother Sivadas.
No, what I wanted to say is definitely yes to Kalyani, because we need the mantras are no letters. That's okay, sound. Mantras are sound, and the rishis rishis saw that or visualized that or saw that. But it has to be communicated through a medium of a language, and definitely should have been one language which is maybe a different name, but it's Sanskrit, because it encompasses all the sound in the world. Which other language, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. I doubt that other languages have each and every sound that Sanskrit has, which others don't have. I believe it. So there must be a medium, and medium must have been the one language which is currently Sanskrit, namely Sanskrit. That's what I believe. Theoretically, that in thinking, by thinking.
Thank you, brother. Yes, Sister Aruna.
Brother, what the rishis heard is the Sanskrit, in Sanskrit. That's what my understanding, because that's whatever they heard only they pass it. That name would have been given to the language that he heard is Sanskrit later, but the words are heard in the Sanskrit. That's a form of the whatever the sound they heard, they would have named as Sanskrit, but the Sanskrit is the language they heard. This is my understanding from learning the Vedas. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Yes, Sai Satish.
Just thinking that again, Devanagari is the way the word, every word that comes in Sanskrit, it can be looked at with so many synonyms. And whether it is Arti, Artharthi, Jignasu, or Jnani, the way they look at that same word, the layers of revelation that word can offer directly from a very tangible sense itself, Sanskrit that way is way, the way it encapsulates wisdom in itself, the way it wraps around itself the whole of the ideology, that itself is one thing. So, in terms of what it conveys is one thing. And secondly, when we use Sanskrit, the way we chant or the way we speak Sanskrit, the whole of the vowels or the consonants and so on, it touches every nerve center, both the nadis in terms of what you have as the nerve centers and the sub nerve centers to which prana flows. The way every syllable is uttered in Devanagari, it touches all of the nerve centers. So in terms of how it stimulates the person's understanding, even as they chant the mantras, that itself is efficacious. So it's not just about, if you know the meaning of the mantra and all of that, that is at a different level. But the very act of chanting, the very act of doing that recitation itself confers benediction. So that is where how at the level of how each of those words, the meanings that they reveal to the seeker by just chanting, and also knowing the meaning based on what level of spiritual journey that sadhaka is. So just wanted to add, that way it provides opportunity across every seeker. Sairam.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish.
I just wanted, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to ask one thing. I think there is a difference between seeing and hearing, right? Swami says drashtas versus, I think the question was, did they hear it in Sanskrit? So I think there might be a slight difference between visualizing the truth versus hearing it in some particular language. Though I know the Vedas are referred to as Shrutis, Swami refers to Drashta. Maybe you can discuss a little bit, or you can share your views on it, thoughts.
Yeah, very nice. I think we'll first discuss the some Sanskrit versus did God speak Sanskrit? This is a big debate in India. As soon as we say Deva Bhasha, I mean, why God can speak Tamil also, type of discussion. People's understanding of language itself is a very, I would say, convoluted or political. See, all the cows in the world, I don't know from where they learned, but they all call out to their mother the same way. So all the animals also make sounds. From where they learned, God alone knows, because only God has given it. So the thing is, in the concept of language, there are two. See, many people say, oh, Sanskrit, Devanagari, that is Sanskrit. The name is not Sanskrit because there's nowhere in Sanskrit they say this language is called Sanskrit. There were two concepts in ancient India. One was Prakrita, the other one was Samskrita. Prakrita means raw, just natural. Samskrita means refined. Okay, that was the idea. So if we say the same gold ore in different places, it will come with different, shades and things like that also. So each language in the world actually is refined to some extent. So the thing is, when they refined to some extent, it took certain different tang or certain accents, certain colors, some things were not refined, some things were refined, things like that. So all languages came out like that. But what the rishis did know, the rishis got together and refined it to that extent. They distilled sound in its perfect sense. So that is why that was given Samskrita. So then there are people saying, but that's why even when Swami's discourses, Swami will give some Latin word. Because this kind of refinement went on all over the world. And everywhere they will cut the diamond slightly differently, but the same diamond, they will shine differently. So Samskrita is actually a collection of all refined sounds. That is why there is no single there are not too many places where people say, I'm a native Sanskrit speaker. The reason is you need some study before you can speak in Sanskrit. You need to understand, it needs effort. It's not natural. That is the reason no one says my mother tongue is Sanskrit. Though now politically they're saying, some people say we are Sanskrit. Nothing wrong with it. But the word Sanskrit means that which is well refined. Okay. So that is supposed to be universal. That is why in India, even though every region spoke their Prakrita local language, the scholars studied Sanskrit and composed in Sanskrit as well. Many great poets composed in Samskrita as well as Prakrita, based on their location in which the region in which they were. So it's like, did God produce pure gold or gold with, mixed with everything? That's the question. God created gold, but he also created the soil and, whatever is mixed with that raw gold. That's the way God created. But then rishis realized we have to refine it and only take in what is most refined. So that is how Samskrita came. And Samskrita was orally transmitted long time. At different times of Sanskrit's history, different lipis or different script has been used. Devanagari survived most of them, and it's the most prevalent today. In the South India, there was Grantha. They used to call it Grantha. That was another script. And there were other scripts also which were used at different times in the history, but they went out of use. Even the Devanagari which we are using today is very refined. And on that topic, even the Tamil script which we are using was given to us by a foreigner. I don't think most Tamils don't understand, know that. So I will stop there. So the script is different than the language which is heard, which language is a sound. The rishis spend time refining. They will say, okay, let us, structure the sounds in such a way. And that is how Sanskrit was created. And Panini was the first one who sort of wrote
Grammar.
the grammar for that. He is referring to other people. So Panini's grammar is he studied the usage of language at that time and he codified it in a manner so that uniformly everyone can understand everyone else's usage. That's why sometimes some words have multiple meanings because they were used in different places with different meanings and they were differently conjugated and so on. So that is Sanskrit. So if we look at Sanskrit as a language which is commonly spoken, we will trip over the political discourse related languages. So I'll stop there.
Sairam.
Sairam.
For that matter, even the regional languages also were written, originally was a Prakrita.
Yes, Auntie.
And then they have gone through a lot of refinement.
Changes.
And then even the poetical language was different, the prose order was different. And, it all went through this different stages. And then it has undergone even worse also. The original Kannada or original Tamil has been completely eliminated. They have come out with a special language. Sairam.
Thank you. Then Kalyani, to your question, because they were so refined in such a way that certain refined concepts of spirituality could be easily communicated with that. So the refinement was such that it could communicate spiritual thoughts in a more clear and very potent way, which all the other languages which were not refined were finding it difficult to communicate. That's why when we translate into English, the full impact of that concept doesn't get translated or doesn't get communicated. I hope that answers your question.
Brother,
Yes.
The sound has no letters, no? So when God says, sound comes, the rishis communicated that sound to their pupils. So there's no need for a letter. So finally, to write down it, then they have to think about the letter. So the sound, God sound. But the language they prepared, made is Sanskrit. What do you think?
No, Sanskrit is only sound, brother. See, the thing is, in this world, does Shiva have a form? We have created a form. So the thing is, every name was visualized by different people in different fame. So the letters which we see is the form attributed by the rishis in some places.
Yeah.
They gave a form to that sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you said da, they wrote something which they thought that is da.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is like people say, who is Shiva? Shiva is without form. But then we will say, oh, he has 4 hands, he's carrying Trishula. So because we human beings like to have a form to look at. So the letters became the forms of the sound. But different people came up with different forms also. That's how different scripts they've evolved. So, Devanagari is one of the script, the Grantha is another script, and so on. So, yes, sound doesn't have form, but people like to attribute a form.
Yeah. So
Human beings
what I'm trying to say is the sound would have been coming for years, ages and ages.
Sound was original creation.
Yeah.
If you want to call it original.
Yeah.
Yes.
Swami always feels Sabda Brahmamayi, Characharamayi, Vangmayi, Srimayi, Jyotirmayi, like that. Yes, Sai Satish, please go ahead.
Saramana.
Yes.
I was just going to say, in that context, actually, it makes sense that when you tell like Bijaksharas, right? If you take like Gam, Lam, for Gam, you say it is Ganapate Namaha. So, like you said, so each Bija by itself gets the sound is there. The sound is given. It kind of takes it distills to take a certain pattern of a name and a form associated with it. So it is same like how Asti Bhati Priyam or Satchidananda is wrapped in Rupa and Nama. Every time the abstract or the real Avyakrita or that which is in that stage of the causal, to pull it down to a level of gross, you give the name and the form, and so you can time and again see how that journey happens from the causal to the gross, so that from the gross we can use it to go back to the causal. So that way that shuttle service is provided. So just wanted to add it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sai Sathya Sai. And that goes into the question which Sanjay asked. Did they hear or did they see? But sometimes when we hear something, we see stars. People, we just imagine a shape or a form. So even the sound, the way they heard was not even in sound from it was just experience which made them imagine that they heard something and they saw something. So that's the way they would put. But Sanjay, so they saw a form. They saw a name, heard a name, and they saw a form. So both of them go so intertwined. I think Swami has spoken about this at a few places. Sairam, Sanjay.
Sairam.
Sanjay. Oh, Sairam, Uncle Gopal.
What is trying to understand, what is the real meaning of Asriri? That's, for example,
Ashariri.
Asriri. So,
Sharira means body, Ashariri means without body.
So, Kamsa heard from the sky some voice, and from then on he got scared.
Yes.
So, what does that mean, please? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll come to. Yes, Sanjay raised his hand. Sanjay.
No, I just wanted to clarify one thing. See, the drashta here does not imply visual drashta, right? It's in the sense of Advaita drashta jnanam, Advaita drashta jnanam. It's in that sense and that drashta does not have sound or form or anything. All sound and form is created.
It's a crystallization of that experience.
Exactly, because ultimately it has to be communicated in one way or the other, whether it's through form or through sound or through a physical experience. It has to be communicated somehow, and that's the reason why it was eventually put down into sounds. And then the sound has to sound is transmittable from one individual to another individual only if it is predetermined what that sound implies, what is the meaning of that sound. So this goes deep into linguistics and the origin of languages and stuff like that. But I think all of that happens at the human realm, at the mind realm, in order to be able to communicate that. Yeah.
And Uncle Gopalan's question about Ashariri. Yes, Ashariri is also Mantra Drashta. I think that's a type of question. Ashariri is considered to be incorporeal voice. A voice somewhere from somewhere somebody hears. Generally, only they hear, or sometimes few people can hear also. It's some extra sensory perception is the way I would put it, Uncle. I will leave it at that.
He may be wondering to know whether in his Hamsa's language or not. I believe it is in the Hamsa's language.
Yeah, so he heard something from somewhere. So that's the belief, that's the story, and he believed it, and maybe at times few people heard also. That's also possible. But you can't pinpoint to a body from where the voice. So generally people will say from the sky some voice sounded. It was thundering or something like that. But ultimately sometimes people think they heard. See, if Kamsa was a rishi, he would have been a completely different person. Because people hear things. I know they're psychologically, I don't want to get into the medical terminology here. They can call it even schizophrenia or whatever, Kalyani, I'm sorry if I'm quoting wrong terminology. But, people imagine and hear things. So I think we can put it that way also, but I will leave it at it.
Thank you, Sairam.
Yes, Sanjay.
I have a question, and we may not have time to discuss this, but wanted to ask this, and maybe we can continue next week. Last week, a question was asked: does Swami, is what Swami says also along the same lines what Swami is implying here, right? And maybe this is purely for sentimental reasons. I don't feel Swami applies to that, and I'm trying to find ways to which to justify that, because I think here Swami says all the other matas, where Swami clearly has said, "I have not come to start a mata," you know. So in that sense, would it be taking too much liberty to say that, what Swami came to point out is actually the Vedas itself, pointing it out again. He cannot, as Satish mentioned last time, we can only grasp what we are capable of grasping. But he pointed that, and his message is all universal, across all times, across all space, and for all people. So in that sense, maybe Swami does not fall into that category. He's mentioned in the first paragraph, something I wanted to just mention, and maybe we can discuss.
No, I think it's important. I think we should remove the sentimentality with what Swami has said. See, I think whatever Swami has said, the authority even Swami gives it for it is from the Vedas. Swami does not say, because I have said so, you will follow it. But even if you look at Jesus, Jesus said, "I'm not teaching anything new. I'm clarifying what has already been taught." Jesus was born, he died, he lived and he died and got even resurrected as a Jew only. But it's others who used it, and then they created a very narrow view of what was taught by Jesus. But Jesus never said that. So I think sometimes sentimentality trumps spirituality. But I think Swami was very clear. Swami will always quote, he will say, in the Bhagavad Gita it was stated, in the Upanishad it is said this, this Rishi said so. Swami gives total credit to everyone. He will say, go and see what this Rishi has said, this is what he has said. And what Swami has done is only to clarify any misunderstanding of what was told in Sanatana. So he just addressed them. But his purpose of life itself purpose of this avatar itself is Vedodharana. To make their Vedas, because Swami within the short time frame cannot impart that knowledge in few words, though he will say, if you know that one thing, you know everything. But to know that one thing is a very long process. I think I will leave it at that. And Swami does not exclude or give himself any special privileges. Though, devotees sentimentally want. Swami is the Paripurna avatar, there's no one else, things like that, which I think conviction is good, and we should have the conviction. But he was a Paripurna avatar only because he showed us the way and he pointed us, as Sanjay said, to the Vedas. So we have to study, we can't shirk that responsibility, because Swami expects us to keep the Vedas alive. And not only but by studying what Swami has taught, we will have better understanding of the Vedas, and we can rejuvenate their understanding. But we also have a duty to they keep up the Vedas, the Upanishads, and so on. Otherwise, they will be lost to posterity in a form which Swami has given to us, I would say. Sorry. I don't know whether just too much discussion, but we can continue this discussion the next Sunday also. It's 4 o'clock. I think people are rushing, or people on their way to centers. They have to get preparing. So we'll close for today. A wonderful, let's all enjoy a very blissful Shivaratri today. And meet next Sunday. Sai Ram, everyone.
Sai Ram.
Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sai Ram, everyone.